Our next guest is a Canadian with family in Lebanon. Marie Kouri came to Canada from Lebanon in 1976, and we've reached her in Vancouver. Marie, thanks very much for getting up so early in the morning to speak with us. My first question, I just want to ask how your family is doing. I know you have a sister-in-law and brother-in-law there as well.
Yes, I do. They're doing fine. They're doing fine. However, you know that Lebanon is a tiny, tiny area. And even though the war is happening in south of Lebanon, the whole country is truly affected.
What are they telling you about what it's like there right now?
Well, you know, life has come to a stop. And funny enough, you know, it's been a 50-year resilience that this country has been going through. I left Lebanon in 1976. The war had started in 75. And I'm just seeing a whole circle going back to what had happened.
What are some of the sort of parallels and the comparisons that you're making between what you experienced back then and what you're seeing now?
You know, back then it was more of a civil war, and now we are receiving external baggage from elsewhere. So I think it is more dramatic in the fact that the shelling is way more important. At the time, it was a war of streets, you know, where people were fighting amongst themselves. But for the past 50 years, we've experienced on and off, you know, very high, dense fighting from other countries. Every time something seems to happen in the Middle East, it seems to always fall back onto Lebanon. Funny enough, you know, the schools are closed. They're living in a situation of war. 10,000 square feet, as I say, the country is very tiny, 5 million population, and you have today 500,000 of displaced. So you can imagine the extent of what is happening. They're still managing somehow to get to work, but you're living in a country where every death toll that, you know, we've become insensitive to what we're seeing and what we're hearing because of the way that screens have come into our lives. But one has to think that behind every death, there is a father, a mother, a child, a generation that, again, is going to be displaced and suffer for years to come. I am still feeling in my bones and in my flesh, you know, the consequences of what I have gone through in 1975 and 76. And we've been displaced. And, you know, I'm an artist, so through my work, I still say the things I've lived. If someone is a writer, he will talk about it with writing. So, you know, it's wounds that remain with you forever. And this is what we're going to experience in the years to come.
And when you talk about that and those wounds, how does that then affect hope for peace in the region, the wider region, going forward into the future?
You know, Lebanese people have become resilient in such a way that I don't know how much more they can take. It's been, as I repeat, 50 years of a war on and off. Sometimes economical, sometimes civil, sometimes with other countries. You know, there's going to be a point of breakage. And the Middle East is living today a very unstable and, to me, a little bit scary situation.
And part of that situation is the ongoing humanitarian crisis. I was speaking with an aid worker on the weekend who said the most acute need now is food, clean water, and there's so many people who need shelter at this point as well, and not enough shelter, of course, for everyone. What's your message to the wider international community as they watch what's going on in your country?
Well, it's to know that there are human beings behind all these numbers. This is what sometimes we tend to forget. You know, we're living, you know, when we had 9/11 in the US, this was the first time that people have experienced such a thing. Well, we're living 9/11 every day in Lebanon for the past 50 years, not consequently, but always with a fraction. Every few years, there is a dramatic situation, there is a dramatic shelling, there is a dramatic war that happens. And one has to really remember that there's a human toll behind all these numbers. There's children. You know, the schools have been sort of welcoming all of this people that are moving shifts from South Lebanon. 500,000 people for a population of 5 million is an enormous amount of movement within the country.
It's an important reminder, Marie, and we really thank you for speaking with us and giving us your view on all of this conflict in the region. We certainly wish your family the very best and hope this conflict comes to an end sooner rather than later.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I think that the more perhaps we can speak about it, the more we can make people realize the true value of life and what's happening in there. Thank you. Thank you, Linda.
Marie Kouri in Vancouver.